Hey y'all, welcome back to Sitting with Asham. And so, yeah, I'm back for another one. Hey, we're gonna talk. This is I think a collective convo. This is gonna be an uncomfortable conversation, and I know that I'm probably not the right person to talk about it because we're gonna be talking about the proximity to whiteness as a systemic issue. But it keeps coming through that I need to talk about it. So proximity to white. See if. Oh, there's a Reddit on it. Oh, good. That means other people. If you haven't watched any of the collective comrades, who I would start with is Layla Saeed or Lila Saeed. She wrote Me and White Supremacy. And I think that's important. So, a lot of what's coming up is for mixed race folks. Proximity to whiteness means being close to white people as a POC. This has opened me up to so many more microaggressions compared to my peers. I personally don't believe proximity to whiteness means anything, whether it's physical proximity as seen during Jim Crow. Jim Crow era was during the was it the Reconstruction period? Hang on. Yeah. 1877 to 1965. Oh, okay, that's why I didn't realize it was that large of an era. So Jim Crow in the United States, particularly in the South, refers to a period of state and local laws enforcing racial segregation and disenfranchisement. Wow, that's a big word. Of African Americans. This era saw the systemic denial of basic rights and opportunities, creating a caste-like system where white people are placed at the top and African Americans at the bottom. So under this administration, they're doing this again, which is why we're talking about this topic as a whole. I'm not meaning to talk about it as a phenomenology, as like, obviously I'm a white woman. I have no business talking about how people feel in proximity to whiteness, like the Reddit thread is talking about. Those are a lot of folks with personal experience. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I am trying to do is talk about how people think they're safe when there's some sort of proximity to whiteness. I.e., Blue Lives Matter is a good example of this. So lots of black and brown people are police officers, and a lot of them do it out of, I want to get in so I can make my community better and be, one of the good ones, right? Well, the system as a whole is the problem, not the individuals in the positions. But within that, proximity to whiteness is where a lot of people remain silent in times of injustice because they don't want to lose their own status that they've worked for, especially if they had to make sacrifices to get there, right? Okay? So I think within this current moment that we're going to be under for at least 8 years, I would say Trump is going to elect himself again. I think we need to be realistic about the time frame that we're seeing with this. At least that long. We are, 3 months in? Okay. So anyway, the proximity to whiteness is seen as I think people subconsciously believe it to be like a safety net within the societal ranks. And I don't know what happened to I had a really nice it wasn't really nice, but I had a hierarchy teach model. I don't know where it went. It's over here somewhere, I think, against the wall. But the United States, as it existed pre this administration / always, we need to remember that the United States was funded on genocide and built by enslaved folks who were stolen from their land. And then, yeah. And white supremacy is the common denominator. Now, what we're facing at this stage is global white supremacy, which is also including of Nazis and Zionists from all over the country, or all over the world, right? And wealth, money. Okay, so a lot of people say you are a person who is not white and you come into money, either through your job or, your family has money. A lot of people of color have not had money predominantly, which is another reason why there's a war on poverty, right? Whenever there's a war on anything, what you need to know is that there are people who are being funneled through the criminal justice system, who are being criminalized for either being poor, being exposed to certain things, blah, 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 all of these things, right? So those are the people who are impacted most by these systems of oppression. And when we live in a white supremacist society, then yeah, those are people who are not white. So a lot of people will do things to get close to whiteness, or to do I have a hard time talking about this because, again, I feel like, but as a society, we've all seen these things. As like the Mexican folks who were MAGA, who are now being rounded up and deported. That is a really good example of thinking that you're safe with the proximity to whiteness, right? The community that I live in right now is very interesting. I think there's a lot of that happening as well, but like in a religious way, which we know religion has always been used for colonization and control of the masses as well. So I've just been called to put this out here and talk about it. I'm very uncomfortable talking about this because I know my skin is white. I did not want proximity to whiteness, but I still have it because I'm white, right? And how we use that's the way we can harness our own privilege. If you're not very outspoken about your beliefs and you're a white person, one of the things you can do is infiltrate a space. And I like to do that to a certain degree. I shared in the past, some of my comments have called me a Trojan horse because I look unsuspecting to other white people, and they say really inappropriate things in front of me, more often than not, because it makes them feel better to think that there is some sort of camaraderie. And then I like to report back to where it needs to go. But if you are not that, other ways I've used my privilege, standing on the front lines at protests or actions, going into police stations, and getting information about officers or like cards, or getting information, going in instead of, black or brown folks who could, especially under this administration. So, if you are a white person, please use your privilege to the best you can right now. I think there's a lot of other jurisdictions, or not jurisdictions, distinguishing factors right now in this admin. I believe, you don't have to believe what I believe. Never said you did. You never do. But personally, I believe that there are lots of different databases in this moment, especially since before, was it right after the election or before the election? I think it must have been right after the election. Do you guys remember when black folks were receiving the text messages about the vans coming to get them and take them places? I believe that the Zionists, Nazis, the Klan, like the Ku Klan. Never made that connection. The fucking crazy white folks, okay? I know from a white person who has done a lot of decolonizing, that the way that white people feel about people of color, is because of jealousy. We know we're ugly. We know we're inferior. They know that their dicks are smaller, and that's a lot of what's going on here. It's a Napoleon complex sort of thing, which, let's look that up. I say that all the time, but I hope I'm using it correctly. Wasn't Napoleon like a really short guy? You know, like the dudes who get like the big trucks and shit? Napoleon complex. Napoleon complex. It was coined by Alfred Adler, who used this term in 1956, referring to short men who feel ashamed and resentful of being shorter than average. So, yeah, it's a Napoleon complex. I think that there's so many layers to this conversation, and we've talked about it in other varying ways, but I just hope people can understand that just because people look a certain way doesn't mean that they are a monolith. Unless you are a white person, there are symptoms of white supremacy that we all have embodied, either subconsciously or consciously. It's just the way that things are. And that's why we have to decolonize from it. But as far as people who are not, like, colorism is a really big thing. Like, when Niall was born, his dad, I'm kind of throwing this man under the bus, but his dad is a pretty dark-skinned black man, and Niall came out very white passing, which means very light skin. And his father was his family ranges in all different shades of brown and black. You know, there's a lot of jokes about light-skinned people, and so I'm not talking about this. I'm just sharing what other people are sharing. And to those of you who understand what I'm saying, okay. But I'm just saying, when Niall came out, this man, his Napoleon complex was very intense. And we never talked about it because I was postpartum having the worst time of my life. Well, like third worst time of my life. At least I had Niall. But anyway, he's white because I have low testosterone. And he's white because I'm white. I'm very white. So, proximity to whiteness within white supremacy, no matter how much anti-racist work you've done, no matter, your political views, it's still a very real thing. Think about people, think about the Karens, right? Think about how people of color have to beware of their proximity to whiteness within certain social settings because of the threat of random ass women having a hissy fit. That's deeply embedded ancestral shit, right? And calling the police, hoping that these police will kill them. They know what's gonna happen when the police come. These are all really horrible things, but I feel like I wanted to put this here because I mean, it's common sense that, yeah, these things are gonna get worse. But if you are a white person who is safer than other white folks, or you've done the work around your own whiteness, your own privilege, your own embedded racism, your anti-racist work, the knowledge about whose land you're on, the minding of your own motherfucking business, also very important. And if you can't mind your business, then you're going to be on the side of, you need to be on the right side of history. And if you're not going to mind your business, go into white spaces, mind their business, and then report back. Use your fucking privilege. But I just think that we needed to talk about this because shit's really getting intense. And no, I think that's another reason to think about like why people have been so silent about Palestine. And it's so fucking irritating to see like two things happen to two Americans this week and everyone's talking about it, but like we've literally been watching genocide, you know, in Palestine and then, you know, Sudan and Congo as well, where their skin is darker. Like, that's such anti blackness that comes with, you know, global white supremacy or global Zionism and this bullshit. So, there's a lot. Um, I hope this helped. I don't know. I feel like we're done here. I've just been getting this download about proximity to whiteness. Oh, white silence is violence. Let's end it there. Have a good one.